The day kicked off with so much promise. We'd been hyping up this fishing trip for weeks, obsessively checking weather forecasts, stocking up on gear, and daydreaming about the open sea. The excitement was electric among our little group. The sun was blazing as we sailed. From the marina, a light breeze carrying the sweet scent of saltwater and freedom. It was going to be epic. By noon, we were way offshore, the coastline just a memory. The fishing was amazing, and our laughter echoed over the waves as we joked and shared stories. But then, in that typical horror movie fashion, things took a turn. Dark clouds started rolling in from the horizon, totally killing the vibe. We shrugged it off at first. Summer storms, right? We figured we had plenty of time to head back if things got sketchy. The storm hit us like a freight train. One minute we were packing up our gear, the next we were fighting for our lives. The wind roared, waves towered over our small boat, and rain pelted us so hard it felt like needles. We tried steering toward shore, but the wind had other plans, pushing us further out to sea. Panic set in. The radio was dead, our SOS calls drowned out by the storm's fury. We clung to the boat, getting tossed around like rag dolls. The sky turned pitch black, and lightning split it open, showing us just how small and helpless we were in this watery nightmare. And then, the worst happened. I was thrown overboard. One second I was gripping the rail, and the next I was underwater, disoriented and choking on salt water. The shock of the cold was brutal, but I forced myself to the surface, gasping for air. I saw our boat, now a tiny speck, getting battered by the waves. "Help!" I screamed, but my voice was swallowed by the storm. I tried swimming towards the boat, but the current was relentless, dragging me further away. Exhaustion hit hard, my arms and legs burning as I fought to stay afloat. Reality hit me like a punch to the gut. I was alone. Alone in this endless, unforgiving ocean, miles from shore, with no way to call for help. The storm showed no mercy, and the waves kept pummeling me, draining my strength. I thought of my friends, hoping they were okay. But deep down, I feared the worst. When the storm finally moved on, it left an eerie calm behind. The sea was still rough, but the sky was clear, stars scattered like diamonds. I floated on my back, trying to catch my breath and process what had just happened. My body was bruised and battered, and I knew I couldn't keep this up much longer. Desperation set in as I scanned the horizon. Nothing but an endless stretch of dark water. My only hope was to find some debris, something to cling to. Hours passed, each one feeling like an eternity. I alternated between treading water and floating on my back, trying to conserve energy. The cold seeped into my bones, making it harder to move. My thoughts drifted to my family and friends. Would they even know what happened to me? How long before they realized I was missing? At dawn, I spotted something. A small dark shape bobbing in the water. Summoning what little strength I had left, I swam towards it, praying it was something that could help me. As I got closer, I saw it was a piece of the boat's hull, splintered but still floating. I grabbed hold of it, using it to support my weight. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep me from sinking. For the first time since the storm hit, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I could survive this after all. Days blurred together as I drifted, clinging to the hull. The sun beat down mercilessly during the day, leaving me parched and weak. At night, I shivered uncontrollably, the cold gnawing at me. Hunger was bad, but thirst was worse. I knew drinking seawater would only make things worse, but the temptation was almost unbearable. I kept scanning the horizon, hoping for a ship or plane, but there was nothing. My thoughts grew darker, the reality of my situation sinking in. I was alone in the middle of the ocean, with no food, no water, and no way to signal for help. Survival seemed like a long shot. The isolation was maddening. No one to talk to, no one to share my fears with. I tried to keep my mind occupied, replaying happier memories, but it was hard to stay positive. The endless water was a constant reminder of how screwed I was. Then, one day, I spotted something floating. At first, I thought it was more debris, but as I got closer, I realized it was a cooler, one we had brought on the boat. My heart leaped with hope. Maybe there was something inside. I paddled over, using the hull piece to stay afloat. When I reached the cooler, I pried it open with trembling hands. Inside were a few bottles of water and some snacks, chips, granola bars, stuff that wouldn't spoil quickly. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep me going for a while longer. With the supplies from the cooler, I managed to stave off starvation and dehydration for a few more days. I rationed the water, taking small sips to make it last. The food gave me a bit of energy, enough to keep my hope alive. But as the days wore on, my situation grew worse. The sun was relentless, scorching my skin and leaving me weak and delirious. I could feel myself wasting away. Each day was a battle, and I knew I couldn't keep it up forever. One morning, I saw something on the horizon, a small speck that seemed to be moving. My heart raced. Was it a ship? Was it real? Or just a mirage? I strained my eyes, trying to make it out. As it got closer, I realized it was a small fishing boat. I waved my arms frantically, shouting, though my voice was barely a croak. The boat seemed to be heading my way, but I wasn't sure if they saw me. Minutes felt like hours as I watched the boat approach. Finally, I saw someone on the deck, waving back. Relief washed over me, and tears streamed down my face. I was going to be rescued. The boat pulled alongside me, and two men helped me aboard. They spoke a language I didn't understand, but their concern was clear. They gave me water and food, and I devoured it, grateful beyond words. The fishermen took me to a small coastal village, where I contacted the authorities. They were shocked by my story, and arrangements were made to get me home. I was weak and malnourished, but I was alive, and that was all that mattered. The journey home was surreal. I was reunited with my family, who had feared the worst. They had been searching for me, hoping for a miracle, and now I was back, barely hanging on. The experience changed me in ways I couldn't have imagined. The ocean, once a source of joy and adventure, now felt dark and menacing. I had faced the raw power of nature and come out alive, but the memories would haunt me forever. In the end, it wasn't ghosts or monsters that nearly killed me. It was the harsh, unforgiving reality of being lost at sea. The terror of isolation, the relentless struggle to survive, and the overwhelming power of the ocean were enough to show me just how fragile we are against the forces of nature. The sun was shining brightly, reflecting off the turquoise water of the Caribbean Sea as we stepped onto the boat. It was supposed to be a chill day of snorkeling, a much-needed break from the daily grind. My friends and I had been looking forward to this trip for months, and now, finally, we were here. The sea stretched out endlessly, promising adventure and relaxation in equal measure. "Man, this is going to be epic," Mark said, grinning as he adjusted his snorkel mask. The rest of us, Jess, Ryan, and me, nodded in agreement. We were all in our mid-20s, still trying to figure out life. But at that moment, everything felt perfect. The boat's engine rumbled to life, and we set off towards the reef. The guide, a tanned guy named Carlos, gave us a quick briefing. "Stay close to the group, respect the marine life, and enjoy the beauty of the reef," he said in a thick accent. We nodded, eager to get into the water. We reached our spot, a remote area with crystal clear water. The reef below was vibrant with life, a kaleidoscope of colors and shapes. I could barely contain my excitement as I slipped into my fins and adjusted my snorkel. With a quick splash, I was in the water, the coolness a welcome relief from the scorching sun. As soon as my face hit the water, I was in another world. Schools of fish darted around, and coral formations rose from the ocean floor like ancient ruins. I floated, mesmerized by the beauty below me. It was surreal, like swimming in a giant living aquarium. After about half an hour of exploring, I noticed I had drifted a bit from the group. I could see them in the distance, but the allure of the reef had drawn me further out. I turned to swim back when I saw it, a shadow gliding through the water. My heart skipped a beat. At first, I thought it was a large fish, but as it came closer, I realized it was a shark. A freaking shark. Stay calm, I muttered to myself. I remembered reading that sudden movements could attract sharks. I tried to swim slowly back towards the group, but my limbs felt heavy, like I was moving through molasses. The shark circled me, its sleek body cutting through the water with terrifying grace. I glanced back towards my friends, but they were oblivious, still enjoying the reef. I wanted to call out, but my voice felt trapped in my throat. I kept my eyes on the shark, praying it would lose interest and swim away. But then, I saw another shadow. And another. My blood turned to ice. There were more of them, circling like they were assessing whether I was prey. The anxiety hit me hard, my heart pounding, so loud I could hear it over the rush of the water in my ears. I felt like I was suffocating, even though I was breathing through the snorkel. Every second felt like an hour as I tried to keep calm and move slowly. But my mind was racing with thoughts of being torn apart by these predators. Come on, move, I urged myself. But my body was betraying me, moving too slowly, too clumsily. The sharks continued to circle, closer now. I could see the dark eyes of one, soulless and cold, as it swam past me. My survival instincts kicked in, and I started to swim faster, desperate to reach my friends. One of the sharks darted closer, and I kicked out reflexively, my foot grazing its rough skin. It jolted away, but I knew I had made a mistake. Panic surged through me, my breaths coming in rapid, shallow gasps. I was losing control, and the sharks could sense it. I could finally see my friends clearly. They had noticed something was wrong. Jess was waving frantically, pointing towards me. Carlos, the guide, was already swimming in my direction, a look of determination on his face. I felt a glimmer of hope, but it was quickly overshadowed by the sight of the largest shark yet, coming straight for me. Carlos reached me just as the shark made its move. He shoved something into the water between us, a long stick or pole, I couldn't tell. The shark veered off, but I could see its teeth, rows of razor-sharp daggers. Carlos grabbed my arm and started pulling me towards the boat, moving faster than I thought possible. The rest of the group was already climbing back onto the boat, their faces pale with fear. I could feel the sharks still circling below, but I focused on the boat, on safety. With a final burst of energy, I hoisted myself up, collapsing onto the deck, gasping for air. Carlos followed, shouting something to the captain. The boat roared to life, speeding away from the danger. I lay there, trembling, trying to process what had just happened. My friends gathered around, their concern evident, but all I could do was stare at the water, still half expecting a shark to leap out and drag me back in. "Dude, are you okay?" Ryan asked, his voice shaky. I nodded, unable to speak. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving me exhausted and in shock. Carlos knelt beside me, his expression serious. "You're lucky," he said. "Very lucky." Lucky. The word echoed in my mind. I had come face to face with death and somehow made it out alive. The boat sped back to shore, the excitement of the morning replaced with a sobering sense of reality. The ocean was beautiful, but it was also unforgiving and dangerous. Back on land, we all sat in stunned silence, processing the ordeal. Jess hugged me tightly, her eyes filled with tears. "I thought we lost you," she whispered. I hugged her back, grateful for the comfort. "I thought I was a goner too," I admitted. The experience had shaken me to my core. I had always loved the ocean, but now I understood its darker side, the raw power that could take a life in an instant. Over the next few days, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of unseen dangers lurking just below the surface. I would wake up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, reliving those moments in the water. The sight of the sharks, their cold eyes and menacing presence haunted my dreams. I realized how fragile life was, how quickly everything could change. It made me appreciate my friends and family even more, the people who made life worth living. I was grateful to be alive, to have another chance to experience the world, even if it now seemed a bit scarier. The experience bonded us all in a way nothing else could. We talked about it endlessly, processing the fear and relief together. Carlos's quick thinking had saved my life, and I made sure he knew how thankful I was. As time passed, the memories of that day softened, but they never completely faded. I found myself more cautious, more aware of the risks around me. The ocean still called to me, but now I respected it as much as I loved it. And every time I looked at the sea, I remembered those moments of terror, the feeling of being completely powerless. It was a reminder of the thin line between life and death, and the importance of savoring every moment, because you never know when it might be your last.